I'm going to talk to you about the book that changed my entire life. Not only did it change how I eat, but also it put me on the right path of living a healthier lifestyle. I'm going to talk about three things. The first thing I'm going to talk about is my personal journey. How did I come on this path? Why did I choose this path? And how did it all happen? The second thing is I'm going to talk about the book, what the gist of it is. And the third thing are my key takeaways. So let's get started. So let me tell you about my background and my story and how did it all kind of happen. Looking back as a little girl, I think I wasn't really taught much from an educational piece in terms of what healthy food is. Besides that fruits and vegetables are healthy for you, which is fine and great. I had the typical kind of information, the fundamental information. And then as I grew up and became an adult, I think again, I knew that grilled food was healthier than deep fried. I knew you should be eating your veggies and all that sort of stuff, but really not much beyond that. In terms of my weight, I think I was chubby as a little girl, but as an adult, I retained healthy weight. Sure, I'd gain a few kilos, sometimes more than what I should be, so I cut back a bit and I'll come back to, let's say, a healthy, more optimal weight. But two things happened. One is I was constantly feeling bloated, honestly, for as long as I could remember. And I just, now like that I look back, I'm like, why didn't I do more to try to figure it out? Like, I think I did. I did the test, like the allergy test, and see if there was like, you know, intolerances, and try to see if I need to eliminate certain food from my diet and all that sort of stuff. That didn't do much for me. So I did make efforts to try to figure out why am I constantly bloated, while it is quite common, I feel, when I look around me. It is most certainly not normal. Your body is trying to tell you something is not working. The second thing as well for me was I wanted more for myself. I didn't have the worst eating habits, or I didn't eat in the worst way, but I still felt like I can do more, I can do better. My knowledge is just very basic, and I can grow in terms of diet and lifestyle. I wanted to improve the way I eat, and I wanted to live a healthier lifestyle. And I think those things kind of go hand in hand. So I went from constantly feeling bloated to feeling empowered. I went from basic knowledge to making informed and conscious choices. I went from following recipes when I'm cooking to developing recipes or putting a meal together or a plate together that is nutritious and complete, to knowing what to order in a restaurant that is a healthier option. Before I move on to tell you what the book is, I think I need to make one little disclaimer here, which is that I don't eat perfectly. This doesn't mean that it's all or nothing. It really does mean that you are just much more informed, empowered, and make conscious choices even when you're eating an unhealthy meal or snack. That's fine. Like, that has a place within a healthy diet. But I think it's just being in control and being in the driver's seat when it comes to your food, okay? Enough with the suspense. It's time to reveal the book that changed my relationship with food for the better. The book is How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. What to expect from this book? This book, in simple terms, if I may, is kind of broken into two parts. Part one, so the first half of the book, talks about the top 15 causes of death globally. He shares statistics, numbers in terms of these deaths, and also explains in very simple, easy to digest information in terms of the role that diet and lifestyle play when it comes to that. The second part of the book talks about optimal diet to help prevent, manage, reverse some of these causes of death. Of course, there are other factors that play a role, like genetics and all that sort of stuff. But the main thing that he highlights is that actually food and lifestyle play a really big role. And that's something that to a large extent we can take charge of and improve and contribute to. Let me first run you through the top 15 causes of death. I'm going to actually read them out from the book because I think it's useful to know. The first one is heart disease, then lung diseases, brain diseases, digestive cancers, infections, diabetes, high blood pressure, liver diseases, blood cancers, kidney disease, breast cancer, suicidal depression, prostate cancer, Parkinson's disease, and iatrogenic causes. So he talks about all these things one by one. So each one has a specific chapter. So he gives you more information in that. The information is very easy to understand and digest. Dr. Michael Greger recommends is a whole food plant-based diet for an optimal diet. This is based on the latest evidence-based nutrition. This is not a trend. This is not based on opinions. This is based on what are the recommendations based on what we know from reliable sources, research, studies, and that will always keep evolving with time, and we have to accept that. I know that sometimes we might feel a bit frustrated because we're sometimes told this is healthy, and then sometimes later we're told, oh, actually that's, being labeled as unhealthy, etc. But at the end of the day, we have to do the best that we can with the best that we know, and we only know really a drop in the ocean in terms of what there is to know and understand when it comes to nutrition. Evolve with it and just embrace it and be okay with it, because it is what it is, okay? The second part of the book talks about the optimal diet to help prevent, manage, reverse some of these causes of death. And so basically what he recommends is a whole foods plant-based diet. I'm gonna explain to you what whole foods are and what plant-based food, what constitutes as plant-based. What is a whole food plant-based diet? A whole food plant-based diet is when you're eating plant-based ingredients in their whole form. Plant-based is when you are predominantly, or when you're eating within 5 food categories. The first one being fruits, vegetables, whole grains, so that's like brown rice, quinoa, burghul, freekeh, all of that. Beans and legumes, so all sorts of beans, lentils, tofu, that falls under that food category. And then the final one is nuts and seeds. So ideally what you want to eat is within those 5 food categories. Rest assured, there are more than 200 different ingredients that you can use on a plant-based diet. What you'd also want to avoid are animal-based ingredients. So animal products, dairy, and also eggs, okay? That is basically what you should try to eat and what you should try to avoid, okay? What's really important here to remember is that it's not about perfection. The idea is to know what constitutes a plant-based diet, and you try to eat within that, but it doesn't mean that it has to also be perfect. Basically, he mentions in the book that somebody basically says to him, oh, but I miss my grandma's chicken pie or something. And he's like, okay, so why do you have to give it up? The idea is you need to understand plant-based diet is what you want to try to eat and what you should try to avoid eating. But it doesn't mean that you can't have certain things outside of that if you want to every once in a while, family occasions, etc., etc. There's a difference between knowing what is optimal diet for health and eating that way and what you should try to avoid. Another thing I want to talk about are what are whole foods. Whole foods are food and ingredients that are in their whole form. It's things that have not had good things extracted from them and they've not had bad things added to them, so to speak. A few examples are brown rice. Okay, brown rice is a whole food. White rice has been processed. White rice has had the fiber and some of the nutrients extracted from it. Therefore, it no longer is a whole food. It's been processed. So that's an example of when something good has been extracted from it. An example of what has been added that's, let's say, unhealthy, that has been added to an ingredient, making it processed, is foods that are like deep fried, have a lot of oil, salt, sugar, preservatives, food coloring added to it. So you've got other things added to the ingredient or the food, therefore making it processed. It doesn't mean that there aren't ingredients that have been somewhat processed that are not still health promoting and good for you. I think the idea here mainly is avoiding the ultra processed, okay? Some things that have been somewhat processed, but still the pros and the health benefits still outweigh the cons, would still be considered within, say, the green light food. So also he has like a traffic light chart, let's say, where he explains what green lights are the things that you want to incorporate, like proactively try to incorporate into your diet that are health promoting. There's also the yellow light foods where you can have on occasions. Red lights are things that you really want to avoid, okay? So the green light foods are the unprocessed plant foods, so foods in their whole form, while the yellow foods are processed plant foods or unprocessed animal foods. So that's unprocessed animal foods are like boiled eggs instead of like deep fried stuff, okay? Red light foods are the ultra processed plant foods, so things that are like French fries, let's say, for example. You've peeled the skin, so you've removed already some of the fiber and the nutrients, and then you've gone ahead and deep fried it and added a bunch of salt to it, and then you eat it with like sauces and dips that are also like ultra processed. So really, what are you eating? You're no longer really eating that potato. So for the red light, it's the ultra processed plant foods and the processed animal foods, which is like the hot dogs and the salami and the ultra processed stuff, the cold cuts. Those are the things that you really want to try to avoid eating, okay? And I'm not going to get into it, but he also lists in very clear terms, he goes through all the food categories. So the 5 food categories that I mentioned within a plant-based diet, there's a chapter on each which really talks you through it, and it talks to you about the health benefits of each. Also, he has included in the book the daily dozen. So basically he has recommendations on the daily dozen things that you should try to incorporate in your daily diet. And it makes it so easy for you to understand how to put a meal together or a snack together to try to hit these daily dozens to the best of your ability. And then in the beginning, it's like you're keeping it in mind, it's like a checklist, but eventually it becomes second nature to you. So that's talking about beans, berries, other fruits, the cruciferous vegetables, greens, other vegetables, flax seeds, nuts, spices, whole grains, beverages, and exercise. So he's got a daily dozen, which really is like your guide to how to implement a healthy and complete plant-based diet when it comes to your meals and your snacks. Now, disclaimer. First and foremost, this is not medical advice. If you have any health conditions, please don't ever make any dietary changes without consulting your doctor and the professionals, okay? Whether it is to implement a plant-based diet or a keto diet or any other diet out there. This leads me to the third part of the video, which is talking to you about some of my key takeaways from the book, but also in general. The first thing is, please know that it's not an all or nothing approach when it comes to diet and lifestyle. You really should be able to be understanding with yourself, kind to yourself, and really understanding your personal circumstances. So there's a difference between getting educated and more informed in terms of what are health promoting foods and healthier diet and lifestyle, but also being realistic to navigate our way based on our current circumstances and moving forward step by step to the best that we can. The second thing is, like he mentions in the book, if for example there's certain things in the red light that you want to enjoy on the weekend or at a birthday, that doesn't mean that you are not applying plant-based diet or reaping the benefits what you fundamentally eat in your day-to-day life and your week and your month and your year, okay? Sometimes there's all these like really rigid labels and it's like the whole all or nothing. So really be clear on that. Seek knowledge from reliable resources, please. I know that there's so many different voices that are there on social media or that you read online or from people that you know or people's different experiences adopting different diets or different things, and they're telling you completely opposing experiences or recommendations. Nutritionfacts.org is Dr. Michael Greger's platform. You can literally research any topic and it will spit out videos and the latest research and recommendations across the board, like across so many things. If you're not happy with where you are in terms of your weight, your health, your choices, you know, we can only do the best that we can. And I think that will always start with being kind to yourself. At the end of the day, our bodies do so much for us every day. Our mind, our body, physically, mentally, every day, day in and day out. We really have to honor that and thank our bodies for that and love our bodies for that at every single stage that we're in, even if we're not in a place that we're happy with it, even sometimes far from that. And also do the inner work as you also work on your food, because also that will only help you achieve what you're set out to do, whether it's gratitude, whether it's self-love, the practices. And that's it. I just want to say good luck on your journey. I hope you found this useful. Please look after yourself. It is worth it. It is worth putting in the effort, even if it's 1% a day towards your health and your well-being, your mind and your body. It is worth it. It is not silly or unnecessary or a waste of time. It's so important. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. On my channel, you're going to find healthy plant-based recipes, self-development content, guided meditation recordings and affirmation recordings, and a lot of different content like vlogs and so much more. So thank you for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.